You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. Coby White and DeMar DeRozan are finalists for some postseason awards. Me and Pat are going to discuss that. We're also going to look at the cap flexibility that the Chicago Bulls have or don't have any of in this upcoming offseason. And that's funny. And we're going to talk about how the Bulls draft status is shaping up for the 2024 draft. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it. I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. Saying Monopoly too fast can catch you up there. Pat, well, with that said, man, we got a couple of finalists for some postseason awards. It's been a struggle of a season for the Chicago Bulls, but we did have a player stand out in Coby White, and Coby White is a finalist for Most Improved Player of the Year, right along with Alfred Sengun and Tyrese Maxey. Now, if I'm not mistaken, did Alfred Sengun play enough games? I don't know why I thought he only played like 63 games this season.
I can double check that real quick. I feel like you are on the right path, but I would assume that if he definitely played 63 games, so he should not be
player
in the run.
not subject to the 65 games played rule.
Is it because he is a non-all-star? Doesn't that only apply to all-star players?
Well, no, because I mean, yeah.
I wonder if based on that,
players, it says to be eligible for MVP, defensive player, most improved player, the all NBA teams, and all defensive teams, players must play at least 65 games with limited exceptions, including a season-ending injury. He didn't have any of that.
Shingun had a season-ending injury.
He never came back?
He never came back.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. Then
that explains it.
Okay.
I was like, you're not wrong. Like, he definitely played 63 games. Yeah, Shingun had a season-ending injury.
He didn't come back after March 10th. So
never came back another game. Yeah. So
all right.
I mean, listen, as far as Coby White, he's got my vote for most improved. I think the jump he made was drastic. Is there a little bit of homer in that? Sure. But I think we've seen Tyrese Maxey be this style of Tyrese Maxey his entire career. So I don't think that you can talk about steady improvement as most improved, right? There really wasn't a step back for Tyrese Maxey. He was able to kind of roll with the punches. That's not a knock, right? It's not a bad thing to be able to do that. That he was able to go to the bench, deal with being on the bench, still be able to put up really efficient numbers, come back into the starting lineup, go out there and get even better. But I think it's more of an expectation. That's kind of what we expected to see from Tyrese Maxey. Coby White was a surprise, and I think that's really what goes into most improved player. How much of a surprise is it? I think Sengun should absolutely be in the running, even though I wasn't surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised to see how well he played. I mean, 21-9 after last season being a 14-9, still 9 points, but a 14-9 guy, got above a full steal per game. Percentage dropped down, but he was taking more shots. And just his ability to, I was going to say his ability in the post to really be able to dominate. Like, I would say, I guess some people were surprised by that. I just wasn't.
Well, I mean, it's not only just that. Like, if you would have told me he would have increased like points and stuff, I wouldn't have doubted that. But it's also not just that. It's the fact that they were basically using him as Jokic light. They were running everything through him.
Yeah.
So that you got to give him some credit for that. Now, I know it is probably people are going to say it is homerism, but like I said before, Coby White's improved almost 10 points per game, almost 2 extra rebounds per game, multiple extra assists per game over what he did last year. Then on top of that, the role. He averaged 23 minutes a game last season. Like he was leading the league in minutes. His usage rate went up by 6% this year. Like, I don't think anybody by the definition of improved from what they did last year to this year, even though Tyrese Maxey had an amazing season, he didn't improve as much as what Coby White did in statistics or in role to me. So
no, and I'm there with you. And I know a lot of people, I had some people bring it up and were like, well, Pat, you were in favor of Ja Morant going out there and getting the most improved player when he did it. When you start to get above like 9 points improved, you have to understand how hard it is in the NBA to improve your scoring totals. 9 points.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're just getting more shots. Like, you have to be efficient. You have to go out there and actually be a focal point of an offense. You have to break into a rotation where, yeah, injury did play a part here with Coby White getting more shots, but you have to also take advantage of those shots when they finally come your way and not give the ball back when players start to come back and get healthy along with you. That's kind of what Ja Morant did in that 2021-2022 season, where he went from 19 points a game to 27 points a game. I think that's a similar jump here for Coby White. Now, the difference is I left that season feeling like Ja's the face of the franchise here for the long term. And then he got like multiple guns pulled out, and it was a lot of NBA YoungBoy play, and it was just a bad combination of all of it. But I think with Coby, there is still some questions on, okay, is this a face of your franchise? At least for me. And so I get kind of like the debate on it, because it feels like with the other two guys, you could say guaranteed moving forward, Alfred Sengun and Tyrese Maxey are absolutely major pieces in your franchise.
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel that way about Coby White yet, but that doesn't play into most improved player. The most improved player award to me should be Coby White's to win because of his increase in everything that he did this season, and because it probably, of the three of these guys, was the least expected.
That's true. Heck, we didn't even know if he was going to be the starting point guard coming into the season, right? Like,
Byron Carter, you son of a...
Crazy.
It's our worst take of all time.
Yeah, listen, yeah, we got to hold that one. But then also joining Coby White in contention for a postseason award is DeMar DeRozan. He is a finalist for the Clutch Player of the Year. Him, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Steph Curry. Pat, how you feeling about that race for that award?
I mean, listen, by definition of the rule, nobody's played in more. Yeah, like, man, you got to be Clutch Player of the Year when you spent 51% of your season playing in clutch games and winning most of them. Like,
well, so DeMar played in 40. We played in 47, 43, 44 games in post with some of those.
We
were
played
games
in 46
DeMar,
clutch games this year.
46. I'll say so. DeMar played in 40 of those. Wait,
well,
he had to play
are
more.
We counting the play-in? Because
no, the play-in does not count towards that. Play-in does not count.
Coby White said his career high counts.
But yeah, I mean, I think DeMar DeRozan has this award as well as leading the league in minutes. Like, yeah, Steph, don't make no mistake about it. Steph definitely has a place in that conversation as well. But the way that I look at it with Steph has other players that also stepped up in clutch games. It was large parts of the season only DeMar in clutch games sometimes stepping up.
That's true. I'll give you that. I think kind of by design as well,
yeah,
right?
it's by design, but I mean,
but yeah, I'll give you that it was him stepping up in clutch games. I think Shai to me probably will win this award because I don't think he'll win MVP, and a lot of people feel like he should be the MVP. So they're gonna want to give him something. I think that's kind of what this will come down to. Shai's been amazing in the clutch this year. It's been I've watched a bunch of OKC games where it's like, if you get this man the last shot, you might be in trouble. Like, I'm not saying he's at Kobe levels at this point, but it got to a point this season where he was on a little run where I was like, they're probably going to win this game.
Yeah.
Because of just how his ability to just turn his game on at the right moment and just say, listen, this is closer than it should have been. We shouldn't have even got here. Let me go out here and put in this work. And so I think that Shai probably ends up winning this award. I would say if I had to rank it, I would go Shai, DeMar, Steph. But I think DeMar absolutely has a great case for this award. See it as how much he had to be in clutch games this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, DeMar to me is the front runner for this award. Yeah, I mean, if Steph did win it, it's like, okay. I mean, I feel like DeMar should have the edge there, but I can also understand Steph getting it. Shai getting it, to me, he has so many other young players as well stepping up. Like, if I'm using that same criteria for DeMar over Steph, I got to use it for Shai as well. Like, don't make no mistake about it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP candidate, but let's not act like he didn't have players absolutely killing it down there as well. So
that's true. I do think that, but I think that that was more of a like, not, I feel like DeMar's and Steph's was like, please bail us out. I feel like Shai's was like, put this away. Like, you go out here and you, hey, we need a killer right now. You go put this away. And I think
plus they weren't in nearly as many clutch games as the Chicago.
No. Listen.
So, I mean,
nobody was in as many clutch games.
That plays a role in that as well. Shai played in. Jesus Christ, where is he in the games played? The fact that I got to look this hard.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm done looking. He's not like. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played in 34 clutch games. You know what? Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
A lot of clutch games, right?
It's a lot of clutch games. But when the other two people played in over 40, they got him by. So you know, it is what it is there.
But are we gonna? Here's the tough part. This is why this award was so weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna fault Shai in this
his team is better
contest because he kept his team out of clutch games? Am I going to take hey, you're not in this award because you were too good to play in 50
yes, because he's in the award category he should be in. MVP.
MVP.
So,
I
because of that.
I hear you on that. This was a weird award when it came out because
I really wish they would have replaced this with comeback player of the year.
Yes.
I would love a comeback player of the year because honestly, people in the chat, let me know if you're on the YouTube side. Because to me, I know not a lot of points scored, but Jonathan Isaac is the comeback player of the year this year. He went from not being able to stay on the court. He's the best. He's turned himself into the best perimeter defender maybe in the entire NBA.
Bro, Jonathan, people forget, and I keep saying this, bro. Jonathan Isaac was Paolo before Paolo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what he was supposed to be.
Bro, like the fact that he was able, what he play in this year? I'm trying to pull up his stats right now. Shout out Jonathan Isaac, man. The fact that he was able to play in 58 games this year, and I know Muzz are gonna look at that and be like, 58, that's a little low.
You got the context of it. Jonathan
75, 34, 11. By the way, the 34 and 11 back-to-back ACL tears.
Yeah. Jonathan Isaac has been through some stuff, man. Shout out to Jonathan Isaac, man. But next up, we're going to take a look at the Bulls' cap flexibility, if they even have any. We'll talk about that there. Before we get into that, though, I got to talk to you guys about a message from one of our sponsors, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports or players. You pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. March is over, but the biggest moments in college basketball tip off. That's wrong. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for first deposit match up to $100. That's the app is Prize Picks and use code LOCKEDONNBA for first deposit match up to $100. They write that weirder and weirder every time.
They getting you, dog.
Yeah, they getting you. But with that said, Pat, we want to take a look at the Bulls' cap flexibility because reportedly, as we talked about on yesterday's episode, the Bulls are prepared to start hunting for stars. You have to have assets to do that. We know that the Bulls don't have a lot of draft capital to just give up, right? We do have a first-round pick owed to the San Antonio Spurs in 2025, which means that we can't trade. 2025, which means we can't trade our 2026 pick. But by the way, that protection rolls over to 2026 if it doesn't convey to 2025. So we may not be able to trade our 2027 first round pick. We do own all our first round picks from 2026 on to onward, basically from in perpetuity for right now. So we do have that, but they may be a little bit protective over moving that. Now, when you add in the fact that it was rumored that the Bulls offered DeMar DeRozan 2 years, $80 million, that's $40 million per. If they gave DeMar DeRozan that contract and Patrick Williams signed his $12.9 million qualifying offer and played on that, and if Torrey Craig and Andre Drummond both leave in free agency with nothing, we don't re-sign nothing, and Zach LaVine and Lonzo still on the roster, the Bulls are $12.4 million over the luxury tax. Over the luxury tax with 2 open roster spots.
Yep.
What does that mean? That AK's words of bringing change to this team, me and Pat were talking on the phone about this earlier, it cannot happen without major changes. You can't just have minor changes. How you feeling hearing those numbers, Pat?
I mean, listen, it's like you said, this team, I mean, if everything is magically perfect right now, you're talking about practical cap space, and understand practical cap space basically meaning that like it's a magical fairyland of things that will never happen because of the situation that the Bulls have put themselves in. For most teams, practical cap space is pretty cool, but for the Chicago Bulls, not here, right? Of 33 million, but then you have to take into account all of the things that Haize just said.
And the practical cap space of 33 million means everything that I just named not happening at all. DeMar walks, P. Will walks, everybody's gone. So.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. None of it happens. We know the P. Will signing is coming. Okay, let's break it down, do some math here. Let's say you get P. Will on a Coby White deal, right? Three, what is it? 12 per?
12 per, yeah, 12 and a half per, I believe.
12 and a half per. That's maybe a little expensive, but let's say you do that. Now you're talking about 21 million left to work with here.
With, at that point, 3 roster spots left to fill.
DeMar.
Yeah, that's your 20 million. That's it.
That's the end. So there is a complete lack of cap space to keep 2 players that AK seems hell-bent on not letting walk out of the door. It's not going to work unless you're willing to part with somebody like Patrick Williams. And by the way, you're then letting Andre Drummond walk. You're then letting Torrey Craig walk. You're then letting, I mean, I wish we could let Javon Carter walk. For the love of God, let Javon Carter walk.
Can we punt him somewhere? Can we literally just punt him?
If we swap Javon Carter with Velus Jones, how upset would you be?
Not upset at all.
I mean,
at least I don't expect Velus Jones to be able to defend or shoot 3-pointers.
Velus 6 feet tall.
That's it.
You know what I mean? I'm just, hey, it might move in the right direction. But no, I think that when you break it down into terms like that, right? And it's simplest terms, and none of it is this simple. When AK talks about, we can do some things to kind of finesse the cap a little bit, that is so Lonzo's not coming back. Right? That's your finesse of the cap. So you're going to file for the career-ending injury exception.
Yeah.
So you're not bringing Lonzo back. That's the only way that I see you opening up more money. And then guess what?
Or you move Zach and don't take all his salary back in matching salary. Either.
But I think that's the tough part, right? Like even matching salaries and trying not to take his salary back. Where does the kicker come in? Does that count against the cap, or is that just out of pocket? That's a Jerry thing, right?
I think that's out of pocket.
That's out of pocket. So that's a Jerry thing. So you move on from Zach LaVine. You got to convince Jerry Reinsdorf that it's a good enough deal that, hey, you got to pay, which it went up this year. I believe it's now 17% or 18% in a trade kicker for Zach LaVine now. So now you're talking about Jerry's got to pay out of pocket. You got to talk about, hey, Jerry, we don't want anybody back on this roster so that we can make financial moves, because nobody's going to trade Zach LaVine for anything of worth. Maybe we sit here in the fantasy world and maybe say, listen, give me Donovan Mitchell, because I think Cleveland may lose him for nothing. That's as real as this practical cap space that the Chicago Bulls have. And so when you break it down in those terms, it's just I don't see how the Bulls are going to follow any plan that AK may think about setting forth without legitimately saying we're going to blow it up. We're going to take an L on some of the cap this season. Not all of the cap, but you can take an L on some of the cap. And we're basically going to go out there with Coby White, Ayo Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, and a host of these G League guys that we're going to sign to minimum deals. That's like that's the only way I see you actually being, and that won't help your team till next year.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. And this is what concerns me on this as well. Keep in mind, Pat, is that the most that DeMar can make per year is $44 million.
Yes.
If the Bulls offered him 2 years at $40 million, he said no.
He's gone. Now, again, we said this yesterday. We don't know what this was the rumored offer. So, and the concern with DeMar seemed to be years, but I got nothing. What you want? You want 3 over for 18 per? Because I'm not going up in the money. I can't. So DeMar's gone. So and I'll say this: if DeMar's gone, and you lose
changes
him
things drastically.
You lose him for nothing. That changes your scenario drastically because it allows you to be able to go out and get somebody. I would think you probably don't want to lose DeMar for nothing though, and you would want to sign and trade somebody. But again, you're trying to sign and trade somebody to go out there and pay them money that Tobias Harris makes.
Well, here's the thing that I think so ultimately what the Bulls I think are going to want to do, and I'm not saying that I have this all figured out. We still don't know who they're going to move, what's going on with Zach, what's going on with DeMar. But I think if you move on from Zach, if you move on from DeMar, one of the two of those or both, whatever, you still theoretically want to be underneath the salary cap about $6 million. And the reason why I say that is this. That's let me say $3 to $4 million beneath the salary cap. And the reason why is because that allows you to sign a vet minimum player, but it also allows you to use your full mid-level exception without going into the luxury tax. And that's how you can still add something to this team. So theoretically, in whatever moves that the Bulls do, unless like they do trade Zach LaVine and get a bunch of role players to kind of fill out that bench as well as some picks, then maybe that can change that. But I think if whatever the Bulls end up doing between re-signing a combination of players, bringing in new players, you still want to leave yourself going into free agency with about $3 million beneath the salary cap, because then vet minimum player, because we said 2 spots, vet minimum player, and then also you can use your full mid-level exception to get, you can even break that up potentially over multiple players like we did before with Goran and Andre Drummond. So it just adds a little bit more flexibility cap-wise there, but it's still so many things up in air before you can even remotely get to that. Now, you re-signed DeMar for $40 million, you re-signed Patrick Williams for Kobe money, which is between $12 and $13 million. You're over the salary cap, $12 million at that point. If you do get out of Lonzo's contract, theoretically, that gets you there. Theoretically.
I mean, Lonzo's I know I'm stuttering through this, but it's like, I don't see a way that you do this. But realistically speaking, right, if you use the career-ending injury exception, that gets DeMar his $20 million for next year.
But that's the thing. It's not 20, it's 40.
Well, yeah, it's true. It is. It's 40 mil. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to figure out how you do it. And here's the thing. I know how you do it. I don't know how you do it and do what AK's talking about.
Exactly. The way AK said that he knows he can't bring this same roster back, right? To me, and adamantly saying that, and change is needed. And like me, you said on the phone, Pat, is that this is not going to be an offseason of right down the middle. It's going to either be an offseason of no changes for real,
yeah,
or some major changes to this roster.
This is nuclear situation, right? You find a way to trade Zach. You just accept the fact that you got role players coming back. This is the only thing that I think is even remotely logical to work with what AK is saying. You find a way to trade Zach. You take role players back, and probably 1 to 2 year guys at most, or guys that you have no problems buying out. You then go and use the career-ending injury exception, which allows you to go out and add a player in free agency. For 1 year, you basically go try and find a mercenary for Alonzo's contract for 1 season. Well, no, it's not 1 season, because the career-ending injury exception just wipes his contract. You add that $20 million onto the books. So you can sign somebody multiple years. I thought it doesn't. I thought the career-ending injury does not count towards the books, but it does make the money available for you to use. So it doesn't. You get to utilize his full salary, but it doesn't count directly to your cap space.
No, it does. You're mixing the career-ending injury exception and the exception that we used this past year, which was that is the one where you get half of the salary back, half of the base of his salary, and then you can sign a player for that. But you get the most you can do it is 1 year, or you can trade for a player in the last year of their deal. So.
Well, either way, right? The money is there. I think
AK got to figure out how to make it available.
You have to literally say, I'm done with this group, and you have to take some L's. And one of the L's may be, if you sign DeMar DeRozan to a $40 million deal, can you trade DeMar DeRozan? I think that you can, but I also think that I have a higher praise of DeMar, I guess, because I sit here and watch him. You think about $40 million players in the league right now, you're basically talking about, right, Tobias Harris, Chris Middleton guys. And I think DeMar's above Tobias, but he's probably on a plane similar to a Chris Middleton type, which feels wrong.
Come on, bro. Chris Middleton is a bad comp, bro. Like,
he's not a bad player, but he's not good either.
He was bad this year.
Mid. He's Mr. Mid.
Bad this year. I know DeMar's Mr. Mid-range, but he's not mid.
I don't know. But either way, I think my whole point in all of this is, like, you literally have to let go. It's the only way. It's the only way that I can see you making any kind of team work. And you're probably still holding on to Vooch in that situation.
Well, all situations, the role, unless somebody listen, if you can get somebody to take Vooch's deal, that's shout out, that's masterful. But do your outreach, bro. We got to get into the last segment.
Hey, we so far over this one, bro. We finna get fined. Hey, man, before we get into this final topic where we have to tell you guys all about what we talk about in this one, the Bulls draft odds in 2024. We do have to tell you guys all about BetterHelp, because this segment is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are into trying to get some help for yourself, sometimes we all need an opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who is unbiased in your life. That's where BetterHelp comes in. When you look at BetterHelp, it's so flexible. It fits your schedule. It fits the type of person that you are. You go through a questionnaire that literally helps you fit everything perfectly to what you need, and then they apply a therapist to you that works with your needs and your schedule. And that's really what it's all about: flexibility, but the ability to get help. That's what BetterHelp is all about. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. We also got to tell you guys all about Monopoly Go. I've been told that I'm a competitive person. I know Haize is a competitive person. We've all got that competitive side here over on Locked On Bulls. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure that you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly. But now I can also heist their vaults of their riches for myself. And the leaderboard shows me who's the biggest Monopoly tycoon in the game. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You could team up with friends and people around the world in timed tournaments to each earn huge rewards. So get the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play.
All right, going overboard. That's like 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah, we got to get back.
Yeah,
we got to get back.
We're gonna have to
We've
cut
had
the next
so much
episode
to say about this team
to 25 minutes just to kind of to satiate. But with that said, I want to talk about the draft scenario only because there's a lot of different situations that could have been ahead of the Bulls as they were going into the play, and we talked about it a little bit. But the Bulls have now the 11th best record in the worst record, however you want to look at it, in the NBA. So they're going into the draft with that 11th pick. They're going to have a 9.4% chance to move into the top 4 and a 2% chance to move into the top number 1 pick overall. So that's where the Bulls sit right there as far as their draft their draft odds. How you feel about that, Pat?
I mean, listen, I guess it's better than you making the playoffs and getting clapped by the Celtics in the first round, like what Miami is going through. But it's still not great odds. You know what I mean? And here's what it comes down to me. Odds be damned. What is AK going to do? How are you going to evaluate the talent? I don't care what pick you land at. You know, we got Dalen Terry with the 18th overall pick. You know what the Miami Heat got with the 18th overall pick? They got Jaime Jaquez.
They also played him. But Jaime Jaquez is an extremely skilled player.
The difference is Jaime Jaquez spent 4 years in college?
Yeah.
We got an Adama Sanago. Those guys know their game. They know where they're comfortable at. They know how to get to their spots. They come into the league ready. And I think that's the kind of player that in this draft, I would love to see the Chicago Bulls go after, because I don't know what the draft odds are. And I get it. I don't want to see you go after a safe player, but at this point, you need to go after a player that's going to hit. You're swinging for the fences with every player, and you can't get one developed. I mean, the guys, I guess Io is a developed pick for the Bulls, right? Io is a developed draft pick for Chicago Bulls. Bulls take him in the second round. But look at all the other picks. Patrick Williams, question mark. Huge question marks. Dalen Terry. I don't even know if we got a question mark on him. Are we questioning? Marko Simonovic. He's not here. He's no longer here. I have more time on the Bulls floor than Marko Simonovic does. Like, when you look at the Bulls draft pick, I guess Julian Phillips, right? He counts as a draft pick. That's nice. I think we saw some nice things out of Julian this year. But again, your highest picks, and yes, Dalen is a fairly solid pick for the Bulls.
As of right now, Dalen Terry is the second highest draft selection we've had under AK. Now, this 11th pick will be the second highest once we make it, but as of right now, Dalen Terry is the second highest that we've picked under AK. Only higher than that is Patrick Williams at 4.
Are you gonna get it right? That's what it comes down to. Because I'll tell you this right now, you don't have time to go through, well, this guy's 19, and so in 6 years, he's going to be pretty good. We got too many of those. You got way too many of those on this team. You need to go out and find somebody that's going to step on the floor and make an impact, and those are usually the guys who spend more time in college than just 1 year. This is a draft where you're probably not going high potential here. In my mind, you should be going sure thing. So I don't know if the odds are what the odds are. What are the odds that AK is going to get it right? That's the biggest question.
We'll see, man. We'll see. This is a offseason of a lot of questions with not a lot of maneuverability, like space. Like, he's going to have to get creative, and that's why him coming out and saying we're going to get back to more what we did when we first came here. Keep in mind that offseason that we signed Caruso, DeMar, Alonzo, we went into that with no cap space either. So get creative, AK. Let's see what you got.
And that's kind of what he's leaning on, right? Where he says, listen, we got to be able to get creative with the cap space, and we've done that before. He has done that before.
Yeah. But
literally the last time he did it is the last time we did something.
This is true as well.
Our last trade was before my daughter was born. I think I said this yesterday on the show. Like, last time the Bulls made a trade, I didn't have children.
It's crazy. No, because technically we made a trade to get Julian Phillips. Technically, that was a trade.
I'm gonna get up out of here. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. We could have waited on that. Like, he'd have fell out. He would have fallen out of the second round. We'd have been fine.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. It's been Locked On Bulls, y'all. We out here. Peace.
Peace. Did make a trade for Julian Phillips.
I mean,
I'd trade AK for another 6 round picks today.